Hello my friends! Alright, so today I wish you to have a fantastic workshop. Try to do the maximum of it because this is excellent practice for you. And if you enjoy this workshop, well, join us at cloudwolf.com where we do many more workshops on different applications in cloud computing, especially AWS. Alright, so I'll see you in the workshop, and until then, enjoy the cloud.
This lab is going to be super interactive, so we're going to do everything together. Many of you were interested to learn how to do, data science pipelines, machine learning pipelines. Well, this is the first step generally of a data science pipeline, where you work on your data and you proceed with the ETL process, extract, transform, load. And well, we have an awesome service in AWS, which is called AWS Glue. So today I'm going to teach you how to use AWS Glue to perform this ETL process. But before I do this, let me remind what is the purpose of the ETL process. Well, in a very real world scenario, in many companies, when you work on your data, you have different sources of data. They never come from the same source. You have different sources coming maybe from different departments. And so you have these different sources. And the purpose of the ETL process is to gather these sources together, to join them so that you can end up in a well-organized data warehouse. And that's exactly how we're going to use AWS Glue today. We're going to have different data sources coming from different services, actually. And we're going to use AWS Glue to perform the ETL process so that we end up with a well-organized data warehouse. Okay? All right. So now in the AWS console, we're going to go to AWS Glue. So in the search bar, you enter Glue, AWS Glue. And here we go. Let's enter the service. Okay, great. So now, before we start the whole real-world case study, I just want to do a quick win, to get us warmed up and excited about AWS Glue. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to ETL jobs, and we're going to create super quickly 2 ETL processes, ETL jobs, without, of course, connecting all the data. And then, since this is an interactive lab, we will make a choice between the easy way and the hard way, the easy ETL process and the hard ETL process. So let's make those 2 ETL processes now. We're going to select this visual with a blank canvas, and we're going to click Create. And we're going to start with the easy ETL. So here I'm going to enter easy ETL. Then we start from the blank page, and we're going to click the plus button to select the first data source. As I was telling you, in a classic real-world scenario, we have data coming from several data sources. And well, let's say that the first data source that we have is S3. So, a department in the company sent us some data that ended up in our S3 bucket. So we select S3 here, and that's our first data source. Okay. Then we're going to add another data source, which is coming from another department, and that contains some other data. Okay. By the way, let me already start to explain what the data is about. So today we're going to make an ETL process for a recommender system. Let's suppose we are working for a big movie streaming company, and our mission is to build a recommender system for this company. And so we have received several sources of data. One source of data containing some movie ratings, from 1 to 5, with for each rating the movie, of course, and the customer ID who gave the rating. And that's one data source. You can actually check it out right now in your folder. I can show you also. This is in your folder. You will find in big data because, okay, so I gave you 2 folders, big data and small data. Big data contains 1 million entries. Small data contains 10 entries. Here, for the purpose of this live lab, in order to run things not too slowly, we're going to use the small data folder. But there you go. In the big data folder, you have 2 sources of data. The movie ratings containing, I'm going to open this with a text editor, or you can even open it with Excel or whatever you want. But this is a CSV file containing 4 columns. First column, the user ID who left the rating. Second column, the movie ID. Third column, the rating by the user of the movie going from 1 to 5. And final column, the timestamp. Okay, so that's the first data source. And then you have the second data source coming from another department, let's say. Let's open it with Sublime Text. And according to you, what is it going to be? Well, these are going to be the customer features. So these are going to be, for each customer, the features such as their surname, their gender, their age, the country they live in, whether they are active in the video streaming platform, and do they have a premium membership. Okay? And the customer ID that we have here is the same as the user ID here. So the ID is the same, But you see, we have those different data sources, and they're connected through a common denominator, which is the user ID for the first one and the customer ID for the second one, but this is the same ID. All right, and so going back to Glue, I'm making an ETL process where in the easy ETL, I have those two data sources coming both from Amazon S3, okay? Basically, we collected the data from different departments, but both in Amazon S3, okay? So that's the first step of the ETL. Then we're gonna add a plus here because in every ETL process, we'll have to do some cleaning of the data. And as you can see here by clicking the plus, you have the transforms here, and you have the change schema transform, which can change field names, data types, and drop fields, also commonly known as apply mapping. So we're going to do this. We're going to click this, and we're going to choose in the node parents here, well, the first one. It was selected automatically. Okay, good. And we're going to do the same for the second one. In transform, we're going to click change schema again, and we're going to choose the second Amazon S3 data source. Okay? And then remember, we want to join these two data sources. And to join, we're going to click the plus button, and we're going to choose the join transform. And here in the node parents, we're going to select the change schema because they have to be applied to those two and not those two, after the transformation. Okay, so that's the join. And then finally, we have to choose a data target. So these are for the data sources coming from the different departments. But then what we want as output is a data target. And well, since we're doing the easy ETL, we are going to choose Amazon S3 again. And that's the first ETL process, extract, transform, load. That is the easy one. And now what I'm going to do, well, first I'm going to duplicate this table, and I'm going to show you the hard ETL. And then we're going to make a choice to decide which one we're going to do today. And I will explain a bit the difference. Okay, so this one is going to be the hard ETL. So let's do it quickly. The hard ETL, guess how it's going to be? Well, it's going to be like this one. Of course, the one that you saw in the AWS Glue theory lecture by Kirill, which contains still different data sources, but one this time coming from S3 and one coming from RDS. We will avoid document DB because as you saw in the data sets, we only have two data sets, customer features, movie ratings. But basically, in the hard ETL process, the movie ratings are going to be in S3, coming from S3, and the customer features are going to come from RDS. Okay, so let's make this hard ETL process right now, following this diagram with the two data sources, RDS and S3, then the AWS Glue extract, transform, load process, and finally, not S3 as the target or output, but Redshift. And Redshift, as I was telling you, is a very well organized data warehouse where you can have everything organized, much better organized, rather than having different data sources where everything is, separate. Okay, so that's really the goal here. So going back to our hard ETL, let's make it quickly. So as we said, the first one is going to be S3 for the movie ratings. Then the second one is going to be RDS. So we're going to go to data here, and we're going to choose AWS Glue data catalog. So I will explain later how you can connect RDS to the AWS Glue data catalog. But basically here you won't find RDS directly. We have to go through the AWS Glue data catalog, but you will see. So that's the two data sources. This is S3 and this is RDS. Okay, and then again, we're going to apply some transformation just to clean the data, maybe to drop some features if they're completely irrelevant to make a recommended system. And there you go. So that's for the first one. Perfect. And then for the second one, apply mapping. Okay. So that cleans the data. And then, of course, we're going to do the join. And here in the node parents, we are going to, be careful, select those. Not those, but those after the transformation. And then finally, as the targets, this time we're going to choose Redshift. And this is the hard ETL process. And so now I have a question for you. Which ETL process do you want to do today? Considering that this one will take more or less 40 to 45 minutes, and this one will take 1 to 2 hours, because we will have a lot of things to do in this one. We will go through a lot of obstacles, as this is the reality of the cloud journey. We will have to overcome many obstacles. We will face many issues. We will have to solve them. It's going to be really a real world scenario. So let's make a vote now, and let's decide which one we want to do today, knowing that we can do the hard one later, but maybe you want to do the hard one now. So in the chat, please take your vote, and I will just pick the majority. Hard, hard, hard. Okay, super. Okay, so that means you are ready for a big journey and you accept that we do this for 2 hours. Okay, everyone chooses hard. That's awesome. Okay, so let's do this. Are you? I hope you have great energy. Me, I have super great energy, so I'm ready to do this. Okay, everyone chooses hard. That's perfect. All right, so here we go. Now let's focus. So we're going to do the hard one. And what is the first step according to you? So let's make this lab very interactive. I'm not going to be the only one talking. I'm going to ask some questions and you're going to try to answer either in the chat or either in the mic. So according to you right now, what is the first step that we have to do? Knowing that, you have some hints based on the courses you've taken before, especially the data science in the cloud course. Remember the first step that we did in the data science in the cloud course to set up everything. Okay, so do you have an idea of what is the first step? IAM, yes, exactly, Clyde. Good job. That's the first step. We have to create a role for AWS Glue in order to get full permissions. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to close this. Okay, so you all chose the hard one, so I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to enter in the search bar, and you too, please, IAM, which we're going to open in a new tab. And that's the first step. We have to create a role for Glue. So we're going to go to roles here, and we're going to click here, create role. And please stop me if I go too fast or, if you miss a step. I really want everyone to follow along. Then here you choose AWS service. Then here you're going to choose, of course, Glue. There it is. Then you're going to select Glue here. Then you're going to select next. And then, okay, so this is not best practice, but this is just for training purposes to make our life easier. We're going to select this policy to give us full access, and that will be perfect. And then you scroll down, you click next. Role name, we're going to call this Glue Full Access Role. Perfect. Allows Glue to call AWS services on your behalf. Exactly. We're going to scroll down and we're going to click create role. And we have our Glue Full Access Role. Perfect. First step done. Okay, now, according to you, I'm going back to this. According to you, what is going to be the second step? Because we're doing everything from scratch. I don't want you to miss any detail or, to miss something. Permissions for the other services? No. Okay, I'm going to help you because it's not necessarily linked.
Should we create a bucket?
Exactly. That's the next step. We create the S3 bucket. Now we're going to basically handle our data sources. Here, we're going to basically handle these two. Okay, we're going to get the data source with S3 and the data source with RDS. All right, so let's start with the easy one, which is S3. Okay, so here in the search bar, I'm going to enter S3 and I'm going to open S3 in a new tab. Okay, and then of course we're going to create our bucket. Okay, so we're building a recommender system. So we can call our bucket, if you want, recommender system. And then remember a random number just to make sure it's globally unique. It has to be a globally unique name. And that's it. That's all we have to do to create the bucket. So we can scroll down and click create bucket. So there we go. We have the bucket. And now inside the bucket, we're simply going to upload our CSV file. That's really the easy data source to handle. And you're going to see that RDS is going to be a different story. So here we click upload, then we click add files. And then as you want, you can either choose big data or small data. If you choose big data, of course, it's going to take a lot more time to then do the ETL process, the ETL job. But me, just for the purpose of the training and just so that we can get to the final result together, I'm going to choose small data. And so in S3, as we said, S3 is going to be for the movie ratings, containing the ratings of the many movies by many customers. Okay, so let's click open. Perfect. And let's click upload. Excellent. Close. And that's it. That's all we have to do for S3. Okay. So in the visual editor, Glue, actually, soon enough, we will be able to connect the data that we just uploaded, but not yet. Okay. So speaking of which, now the next step is to create the data source in the data catalog of Glue. Okay. That's exactly the next step. So here, yeah, I'm going to open Glue again, but in a new tab. Just to keep the ETL process, I'm going to open Glue in a new tab. Okay. We're going to always keep the ETL process on the right. And there you go. So back into the Glue console. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the data catalog, as we said, and create a database. Okay. This is going to be the database of Glue. we're going to have several databases. There's going to be one in Glue, one in RDS, and now we're creating the one of Glue. So we click here, add database, and since we are creating the database for the movie ratings, we're going to be super clear here, and we're going to write movie ratings. And since there's going to be several databases, we're going to call it Glue database. Okay? And optional, all good. Let's create the database. So that's the first point in the data catalog. And now we're going to create the table within this database. And the table is going to be exactly the table containing the movie ratings, okay, in the CSV file. And to do so, we're going to enter our database here, and we're going to click this, Add Tables using Crawler. So basically, a crawler is a tool that can extract the data in a CSV file. It extracts the metadata, but you're going to see that it can also populate the data in the CSV file. So we're going to click this, Add Tables using Crawler. Enter a unique crawler name. We're going to call it Movie Ratings Crawler. Okay, like that, or whatever you want. Then we're going to click Next. And is your data already mapped to Glue tables? Not yet, because now we're going to add a data source. Data source is going to be S3. We are taking care of this first. So S3 here. Location of S3 data in this account, yes. And now we're going to browse S3 to find this CSV file. So here we select our bucket, recommended system, the bucket we created, and then we're going to click choose. Then we click out of this, and this is fine. And then we scroll down. We're going to crawl all subfolders, but we don't have any folder inside. So all good. And we can click this button. Okay? Then we select this, and we click next. Then here we're going to, of course, enter the IAM role we just created, right? To give us full permissions in Glue, from Glue. So we're going to click the drop down here, and we're going to select the role that we just created, the IAM role, Glue full access role. Perfect. Then optional, all good. We click next. There you go. Now target database. That's exactly what we just created, the movie ratings Glue database. We select this one, and here we keep on demand, but you can choose some other frequencies like daily, monthly, weekly. So we keep on demand, all good, and we click next. And now this is just a review where you can review all the configuration you did, and then you click create crawler. Perfect. And now we just created the crawler, but now we're going to run it in order to do this extraction of the data and put it in the table of this database we just created within Glue. Okay. So are you all ready to click run crawler? Is everybody okay? Yeah. Okay. So stop me if there is any issue, of course. Huh? Okay. So let's do this back into my crawlers. So I'm selecting the crawler and then I'm going to click run. Is everybody ready to click run? 3, 2, 1, go. So now the crawler is running and basically it's going to extract all the data from the CSV file to put it in the table of the database we created. We created two things so far. We created the database first, and then now we're creating a table of this database. Okay, so now it is running. It's going to take 2 minutes approximately, and you will see that at the end we will have the movie ratings table containing the exact same data as in the CSV file. And that is a data catalog element, and the element is a table, which we will then connect in our ETL process. Okay. So I suggest that while it is running, well, you can ask me some questions, or so far so good. I'm so glad we haven't run into any obstacle now. That's so good, but wait for what's going to happen next with RDS. This is going to be much more challenging. So now it is stopping. That's completely normal. That means the crawling is done, and soon it should say successful. Okay, so ready? Is it ready? Is it successful for you too? Is it not ready for anyone? No? Okay, perfect. All right. So now let's have a look at the table. We're going to go to tables. We're going to refresh, and there you go. Here is your table. Okay. So now you're going to be like, okay, but where is it? Where's the data? I can't see it. If I click on it, I don't see it. Well, I see the column names. Okay, great. I see them, but I don't see the values. I'm a bit lost, right? It's not very intuitive. Well, right now I'm going to show you how to have a great look at your table, and that is going to require the use of another service. Do you know what it is? Let's make a little guess here. Do you know which AWS service allows us to basically query this database so that we can have a good look at the data? Does anyone know? It's the name of a city, a capital in Europe. Okay, so I'm going to tell you it's Athena. So now in the search bar, we're going to enter Athena just to have a look. It's an optional step, but I really want to show you how you can play with everything, just like Tony Stark in his lab. So Athena Let's open that in a new tab. And this is basically a query service where you can manipulate the data or have a look at your data. So there you go. Automatically, it found in the AWS data catalog here the database that we just created, which is the only one. That's how it selected it by default. So movie ratings, Glue database, and then of course the table that we just created. And to have a look at this table, you click these three little dots here, and then preview table. And there you go. You have your data. The first 10 rows at least. Okay, if you want more rows, you can put the limit to 100 or 1000 as you want. All right, so that's just the way to see the data. I just wanted you to know how to do this. All good? Okay, great. So now back into the Glue. Basically, we are done with the first data source. We have created the table, and the table is populated with the data. So now we're going to go to the visual editor, and we're going to connect this data, because right now I just created the data source, S3, but now we're going to connect it, of course. Okay. So okay, there you go. So here you're going to choose data catalog table. Then here you're going to choose, of course, the movie ratings Glue database that we just created. And then here in the table, you're going to click, of course, the recommender system table that was created within this movie ratings Glue database in the data catalog of Glue. Okay. So that's the table, and that's it. Now it's well connected. If you click output schema, you see you have the right schema of your data source in S3. But as you can see, this is well checked. And now let's have a look at the transform, this one. So remember, we're building a recommender system. So is there anything we want to do in our data right now in order to make the future training of the recommender system more efficient? Well, let's have a look at the variables. The first one is user ID. Actually, user ID is not very relevant to training a recommender system. It doesn't have any impact on recommendations. But remember that then we want to do a join. And we're going to join the two different data sources through a common denominator, which is actually the user ID. So we should not drop it. Absolutely not. Movie ID. So same, we always want to keep it. This is a key identifier. Maybe we will use it later, so we should not drop it. The rating, of course, we have to keep it, because this will be connected then to, the features of the customers. And then the timestamp, well, that is completely irrelevant to building a recommender system, and therefore we can definitely drop it. So there you go. That's the kind of transformation you can do here with this apply mapping transform. You can change also the names of your features, the names of your variables, and then change the type. For example, you can change a long into big integer or other, okay? But let's keep it like that. It's fine. Long, double for those variables. But let's just drop timestamp. Okay. And now, congratulations, my friends. We are done with the first data source. We have extracted it properly with the data catalog, and then we have transformed it properly thanks to the apply mapping transform. All right. All good so far? I thought about Athena. Goddess, yes, that could have been a great hint. Okay. So now let's take care of the second data source, meaning RDS. And now that's where things are going to get a little bit tricky. Are you ready? So now it's really time to focus, to give the maximum focus. Okay, so that's S3, that's the glue. Okay, great. Here we're going to go back to the tables, all good. And now in the search bar, of course, we're going to open a new service, which is going to be, of course, RDS. So I'm going to open it in a new tab. I'm going to put here. I'm going to close this. This was just to show you, right? It's not useful for the rest of this tutorial, but now you know how to have a good look at a database. All right. So welcome to Amazon RDS. Now we're going to extract, therefore, the second data source. So let's do this. Let's create first a database by clicking this Create Database button. All right, so we're going to create an RDS database powered by MySQL. So here in the engine options, we're going to click MySQL. By the way, let's choose the easy create process of creation. And let's choose MySQL, but you can also choose other ones, but it's better to choose MySQL because then you will have the free tier option. As you can see, you have the free tier here. I think that for Aurora, which is also powered by MySQL, you don't have the free tier. Look, I can show you. Where is that? Yeah, dev test or production, you see. So let's not lose some money, and let's choose MySQL to get the free tier. Make sure to select the free tier here. Super important. So free tier, MySQL, and Now let's give a name to our DB instance identifier. And now please don't keep this name because I want everything to be super clear. I don't want us to get lost in the different names because there are several databases. So we're going to make the name super clear so that we don't get lost. And so this one, well, since this is for the other data source for the customer features, well, we're going to call it customer features. And remember, there are several databases everywhere, so we're going to call it RDS database. And no, there you go. So we could call it database, but then there's going to be a database with another tool, and I don't want us to confuse the database in RDS and the database in this other tool. So what it is exactly is a DB instance. And so we're not going to call it database here, we're going to call it DB instance, okay? So that we don't confuse. So customer features RDS DB instance. That's super clear, at least. Okay, so then master username, we can keep admin, that's fine. And then here we're going to choose a password. So choose the password you want and confirm it. And then that's it. We're just going to keep all the rest by default. And we're going to scroll down and click create database. Perfect. Well, you can close this, that's fine. And now it's in the creating status and it's going to take 2-3 minutes. So now let's just talk. Let's just, you can ask me some questions. You can, well, tell me if everything's okay or if you have any issue. And done, successfully created. Great, we have our database in RDS. But so far, this is just a database instance. There's absolutely not the data populated inside, okay? So now the big question is, how are we going to populate the data, extract the data within this database? It's basically like an EC2 instance right now, but for the database technology, okay? So now, according to you, what is going to be the next step? So I'm going to tell you because this is actually a bit advanced, but the next step is to indeed create the table containing the customer features data in the CSV file into the database, right? And how can we do that? Well, we have two options. Either we use the CLI or we use a tool, an extra tool. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to use this extra tool, which is called MySQL Workbench. There you go. So you're going to go to Google and you're going to download MySQL Workbench. Okay. So you can click download now. Then you choose the right operating system. So me, I'm on Mac OS and the version. Okay. So here there is something important. At first, when I did this, I tried to download the one that is given in the main page, this one. But my Mac has this version 12.6.6. And actually this one is only for version 13 and above. And so what I had to do is go to the archives and download this one actually. That's the one before. But maybe let's all download this one, the 8.0.32. Okay. And you will actually also see it in RDS, the exact same version. So let's actually all download this one, but make sure to select your right operating system. So 8.0.32. And then we click download. So I'm going to do it with you. Save. And then we install it. So mine is already installed, so I'm not going to install it again. But there you go. You double click on it and you do next, and you will have it installed. Okay, so let's open it then. It should take a few seconds to install. And so where is it? There you go. Open. And let's open it. Great. So welcome to MySQL Workbench. So basically this is going to be a tool so that we can extract the data of the CSV file into our RDS database. So first we have to create a connection between MySQL Workbench and our RDS database. So let's do this. We're going to click the plus button here to create that connection. And so for the connection name, we're going to call it anything we want, but let's make things clear again by calling it RDS connection. Then host name, according to you, what is it going to be? Well, let's go back. Let's go back to RDS. Let's go inside our database. And according to you, what is going to be the host name that we have to enter here?
The endpoint?
Exactly. Perfect. The endpoint. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to select the endpoint here, go back to MySQL Workbench, and paste it here. Okay. The port 3306 is the port for MySQL, so we're going to keep it. That's perfect. It's also in the details here. There you go. 3306. Great. Now, username. Remember the username that we chose when creating our RDS database instance? We chose admin. Okay, so we enter admin here. And now, are you ready for our first hassle? We're going to test the connection and we're going to see if it's going to work properly. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Test connection. So it's testing. It's taking a few seconds to test. So let's see what's going to happen. And unfortunately, test failed. Failed to connect MySQL at customer features. Unable to connect to localhost. Okay, so I'm going to show you why. Let's go back to RDS. And if you notice in the connectivity and security, well, here for publicly accessible, we have no. And that's the issue. So we have to configure it to yes. And so we're going to modify our RDS database instance. We're going to scroll down and find that configuration where we can set the public access to yes. Connectivity, let's scroll down. Additional configuration here, maybe. There you go, public access. So you have to click the drop down, additional configuration within connectivity. All right, connectivity, and then additional configuration, and you're going to select publicly accessible. Okay, so let's scroll back down. Let's click continue. Here it's just telling you what is modified. Public accessibility from no to yes, perfect. And let's click modify DB instance. Successfully modified instance, customer features, RDS DB instance, great. Let's refresh to see if it's all good. So you see in the status now that it's still modifying. So there you go. So now if we refresh, is it okay? Still modifying. Okay, done, perfect, refreshed, available. So now let's see if that solved our issue. So let's go back to MySQL Workbench and let's test the connection again. So I just clicked test connection and now we're going to see if it works. If anyone gets the result of the test before me, feel free to, there you go. I just got it. And unfortunately failed again. We failed to connect to our database instance. So according to you now, so now I'm coming back to you. Let's talk a bit. According to you, what could be the other issue? Does anyone have an idea?
The password?
No.
SSL?
Close. You're getting closer. Warmer. Clyde, you're getting close as well. It involves the port. But what is exactly the issue? What is this feature of AWS that will solve this issue? It's an access issue.
Our rules, maybe? Or we don't have an
Exactly. But which rules?
I guess inbound rules.
Exactly. The inbound rules of the security group attached to our RDS database instance. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to edit the rule, edit the inbound rule, as you said, in order to open what? Which port?
3306.
Exactly. In order to open the port 3306, meaning the MySQL port. So now what we're going to do is in the search bar, we're going to open EC2 because that's where we can create security groups. And we're going to open link in a new tab. So let's go to EC2. Then let's go to security groups and let's create a new security group. So these are the security groups of the AWS CCP core. So don't pay attention to those. We're going to create a new security group, which we're going to call SG-open-MySQL to open the MySQL 3306 port. Then let's give a description to just know what we are doing. Allows MySQL access to developers and VPC all good. And there you go. So you leave the outbound rules like that. What we have to add is the right inbound rule. Okay. And so here we're going to enter, of course, 3306. There you go. You could also enter it like that. You can find MySQL. There you go. But it's better to enter 3306 like that. Here you can either choose a custom or anywhere IPv4. And there you go. That's your inbound rule. So you're just going to configure it like that, 3306, and then you're going to create the security group.
Okay, now this makes more sense. Like that was kind of the doubt that I had before, like how we were making just public access available.
Exactly.
If we don't want anyone to access but us.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you would create this extra inbound rule in a security group. So now we have just created the security group, right? SG open MySQL, but now we have to attach it to the RDS database instance. So we're going to go back to RDS and then we're going to click modify here. Then we're going to scroll down. We're going to go to connectivity, I think, connectivity, and then security group. And you will find the one that you just created, SG open MySQL. Perfect. So then you're going to scroll down. You're going to click continue. Here you have a review of what you're modifying. You're modifying the security group from just default to default and the one that opens the MySQL 3306 port. And you click modify DB instance. Successfully modified. Okay, great. So now let's test and let's see if it works, if the connection works. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Test connection. There you go. Successful for me too. Awesome. Okay, so has everyone reached the same step with the successful connection? Yeah, all good for everyone? Successful connection for everyone?
Yep.
Perfect, awesome, great. So now, since the connection is successful, well, we have to enter the password to get into MySQL Workbench connected to our RDS database. So let's do this. That's the password you entered when creating your RDS database with the admin user and successfully made the MySQL connection. Awesome. Let's click OK here. And now that the connection is established, let's double click the RDS connection. And now it's opening the SQL editor. And that's where we will be able to create our table within our RDS database instance. Okay, so in order to create a table, we're going to run a query now, which is going to be create database. And then we're going to give a name to our database. We're going to call it, so these are the customer features. And then we can call this database. So remember, in RDS, what we created exactly is the database instance. And now we're creating the database within the database instance. So you see the difference? That's why I really want to give very clear names to make sure we know what we are creating, okay? So that's the database, customer features database. So we're going to select this and click Command or Control plus Enter to execute, or you can even click this, all right? Create database, customer features database, okay? Done. Then we're going to refresh here, and there you go, you have your database. So let's expand this. Then let's go to tables, click right, do a right click, and then click this, table data import wizard. Okay, great. So now we're going to browse our machine to find the CSV file of the customer features. So me, I'm going to choose small data because I want, this training to not take too long, because if we take the big data, it might take like 10 or 20 minutes. So I'm going to take the small data so that it only takes a few minutes. And of course, we're taking the customer features CSV files, which contains the features of the different customers that left ratings of the movies in this dataset movie ratings. So let's click open. Then let's click next. Then we keep this, create new table, customer features database. We can click this in case you do this several times and you have a table that exists already with this name. Then you click next, and that's just the review. So you have the different columns of the data set in the CSV file. So all good. You can change the type if you want, but no need to do that. You click next, and then next to execute. And there you go. Now it's beginning the import, and it's importing the data to populate it in the table of the database in the RDS database instance that we created and that we connected successfully to MySQL Workbench. I definitely hope AWS will bring a crawler for SDS, but there you go. Yeah, now it's done, you see? So let's click next and finish, then record imported, finish. Perfect. So now in our RDS database, well, we have the data populated. That's perfect. Everything went well successfully. But now let's go back to the console. Okay, so now, according to you, what is the next step? Our RDS database instance has the table well populated with the data of our CSV file containing the customer features. So in terms of the data source in the ETL process, we have done the extract step. But now comes another difficulty, because basically we have to connect RDS here in this ETL process. And unfortunately, even though we have already created our RDS database, well, if we refresh here, we won't see it. If I click the drop down here, I see nothing. As you can see, this is the movie ratings. This is not the customer ratings. So how do I connect RDS to Glue, according to you? So let's go back to, well, actually, I'm going to put that here. That was for the security group. So that's RDS. Okay, so the next step is to create an element for our RDS database instance, therefore, and now table in the data catalog. And so we're going to go back to ETL, and we're going to go back to databases. And this time we're going to create the customer features database, right? We have created so far the movie ratings Glue database. And now we're going to create the customer features Glue database. And I'm specifying Glue, as you can probably guess, because there are many databases everywhere. So I'm just making this super clear. So customer features Glue database, I recommend to also name it like that. Then let's click create database. And now we have the second database created, but so far, of course, nothing is connected. Now we're going to connect the RDS database that we created and populated thanks to MySQL Workbench to the Glue database. Okay, so let's do this. To do this, we are not going to use a crawler yet. We're going to use a crawler after that, but we're going to use connections because we have to establish this connection from RDS to AWS Glue. And now here comes some more trouble, some more hassle. You're going to see. Let's focus. All right. So make sure not to go to connectors, but to connections. And you're going to click create connection. You're going to enter a name for your connection and you're going to call it RDS connection. Then in connection type, you're going to choose, of course, Amazon RDS. And then in database engine, you're going to choose, of course, MySQL. All good for everyone? Now, in connection access, if you refresh this, well, you should find your RDS database instance, which is exactly this one. And that's the ARN, Amazon resource name of your RDS database instance that you just created. So you select it. And then, that's very important, in the database names, I told you before to really make the difference between the name of the database instance, which is this one, Customer Features RDS database instance, and then the name of the database that we created in MySQL Workbench. And the name is this one. That's the name of the database. And that's why I called it Customer Features Database, as opposed to Customer Features RDS Database Instance. You see? So that's why I'm making all these long names so that we don't confuse anything. So I just copied the database name in MySQL Workbench and I'm pasting that here because that's exactly the name of the database. And then in credential type, of course, we're going to enter the username admin, which is admin, and the password that we entered when creating that database in RDS. So let's enter the password. And now let's create the connection. RDS connection connector successfully added. Great. But let's not speak too fast because now, of course, what we're going to do is test the connection. And you're going to see that's where the trouble comes in again. So let's select the connection. Let's click actions and let's test the connection. And now in the IAM role, we're going to select again the Glue full access role that we created before at the very beginning, the first step. And we're going to click confirm to test the connection. And there you go, another issue. Test connection failed. So according to you, what is the solution now? Let's read. At least one security group must open all ingress ports. To limit traffic, the source security group in your inbound rule can be restricted to the same security group. So according to you, the security group of what is it talking about? We're talking about which security groups basically? Well, I'm going to tell you. We're talking about the security groups of our RDS database instance. If we go back to our RDS database instance, well, we have those two security groups, SG Open MySQL that we created, and the default one that was here by default. And that's the security groups they're talking about. And so, back to the connectors, what do they say? They say that at least one security group must open all ingress ports. And so, a solution to that is to actually open all ports in one of the two security groups. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So, instead of only opening the 3306 port, MySQL port, we're going to open all ports. And so we're going to go back to our security groups in EC2. We're going to select SG Open MySQL. We're going to go to inbound rules. And we're going to add this new rule that opens all ports. So we click edit inbound rules here. And then we add this rule. And here we're going to say all TCP to open all ports, from 0 to 65,535. Okay. And then here in custom, you're going to select anywhere IPv4, and that opens all ports. And you're going to click save rules. And now we're going to see if it fixes the issue. So now the security group is modified. Therefore, the security group of our RDS database is modified as well. We can, I think it's like refreshed automatically. So let's make the test again. Here in the connection, RDS connection, we select it again. We click actions, test connection. We select the Glue full access role again. We click confirm. And we have, unfortunately, another message error. What does it say? It says, VPC S3 endpoint validation failed for subnet ID, some blah, blah, blah. Reason, could not find S3 endpoint or NAT gateway for the subnet, the following subnet. Okay, so apparently the solution is to create a VPC endpoint. And so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to exit this, and we're going to enter in the search bar VPC. We click to open the VPC service in a new tab. I'm going to put it here because, that's the setup. That's part of the setup. And then in the VPC section here, Virtual Private Cloud, we're going to go to endpoints. And there is no endpoint. That's normal. But as they said, provide a solution to the issue of the connection. We're going to create an endpoint. And Actually, they said, I don't know if you remember, but they said it has to be a VPC endpoint to S3. So I'm going to call it VPC endpoint to S3. Okay, just to be clear. Then in service category, we're going to select AWS services here because we're going to select S3. And it's not the S3 outpost that we have to make this endpoint to. Neither the access point is S3. That's why it's this one. And then, well, impossible to know here, but it's actually the gateway that we have to select. So we select this one, the endpoint to S3 with the gateway type. Then here, of course, we have to select the VPC. And then, very important, remember they said that you have to connect it to the subnet. And the way to connect to the subnet is through the root tables, because that's what contains the connection to the subnet. So you select the root tables here, and you're all good then. Tag OK, and you click Create Endpoint. Is everybody okay? Maybe I went a bit fast. Sorry, I always ask the wrong question. The right question is anybody not okay? I mean, is anybody not following? Okay, so it seems that everyone is okay, right? We can proceed to the next step to create this endpoint. So let's do this. Let's create the endpoint, VPC endpoint to S3 with this particular service name, and make sure that you have your route table that is selected. Okay, so that's done. So now let's see if it fixed the issue. We're going to go back to our connectors. Let's select this one, RDS connection, click Actions, and test the connection again. IAM role, we select the Glue full access role. We click Confirm, and is it successful now? Testing connection. I'm getting very excited because I remember how so excited I was when I solved this issue. But now it's testing the connection, and let's see if we will run into some other trouble and if we have to bring another solution to some other issue.
AWS loves the suspense to keep us here.
Yeah, yeah, AWS loves the suspense. Yes, absolutely. It's funny because the time that it takes to test the connection, and there you go, successfully connected to the data store. When it happened to me the first time, I yelled even louder. But yeah, I was super happy that finally this test connection is successful. But I was saying that, yeah, it's funny that the time it takes to test the connection in AWS is similar to the time it took to test the connection in MySQL Workbench. But there you go. So has everyone obtained this?
Mine is still testing.
I'm almost, yeah, I just got it.
Oh, great. Awesome. I told you this was the hard way. I told you that it's the way that takes time, and that is really the reality of you using AWS and building applications in AWS. But yeah, we're almost done now. We did the hard part. Actually, then we're going to handle Redshift, which is going to be a bit tricky too. But now we did the hard part. Now we're just going to use another crawler.
Okay.
So let's go to the crawlers. Back to the crawlers. Here, crawlers. Actually, you know what? Let's go to databases. Let's go into our customer features Glue database, and let's click this, add tables using crawler. All right. Then enter a unique crawler name, customer features crawler. Okay, customer features crawler, description if you want, tags, all good. Let's click next. Is your data already mapped to Glue tables? Not yet. So we're going to add the data source now. Let's do this. So the data source now is this time. So what do you think it is? Remember, I mentioned it briefly. Which one is it among those?
JDBC.
Exactly. JDBC, which means Java Database Connection. So that's the connection we're using because we just created a connection to make that connection between RDS and now AWS Glue. So JDBC for the data source, then connection, of course, the RDS connection that we just created and that we tested successfully. So RDS connection. And now, please pay attention. That's another tricky one. Include path. Let's all make sure we include the right path. So we have to read this. That's very important to read the little lines to understand. So you can substitute the percent blah, blah, blah. Okay, but look at this. It says something very important. Yes, there you go. Oracle database and MySQL don't support schema in the path. So basically it says that the path is usually my database, you know, the name of your database, / my schema / percentage to include all the tables. But MySQL doesn't support schema in the past, so we have to omit my schema. And therefore, the only thing that we have to enter is the name of the database / percent. And the percent just means that it will include all the tables. So let's go back to here. That's the name of our database, customer features database. So we do this. customer features database, then slash, and then %. I don't know how you called this one, but that's what you should copy and paste. All good for everyone? Yeah? Okay, good. So this, and then we're going to click add a JDBC data source, Java database connection data source. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, great. Don't forget to select it here and then click next. All right. So now we're going to choose an IAM role. And what will be the IAM role? Well, that's going to be, of course, Glue full access role that we created at the very first step of this lab. Okay, perfect. Then we click next and then target database. Ah, interesting. So according to you, what do we have to do now? What is the target database?
Customer features glue database.
Exactly. Customer features glue database that we created within Glue. And that's why I'm specifying Glue database. It's very important to not confuse stuff. So customer features glue database, we're going to keep the on-demand frequency, meaning that it's going to crawl when we click the run button. Then we click next. Then this is just a review. And we click create crawler. Crawler successfully created, but now we have to run it. And to run it, we either click the run crawler here, or you can go back to your crawlers here, refresh to see your crawler. There it is, customer features crawler. You select it and you click run. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Run. And it's starting the crawler. And now it's going to crawl the data from the RDS database table that is in MySQL Workbench, right? So now it is running and it's extracting the data as in the first step of the extract transform load process, meaning the extract step. Oh, ready. Perfect. So the next step is, well, to go back to our visual editor and connect this data catalog element related to RDS database in the ETL process. So here we're going to refresh. Here, make sure to have this selected, AWS Glue data catalog. And there you go. Now you see the customer features glue database that we created. Good. Now let's refresh this to find our table. And there it is, customer features database, customer features. Does everyone have this?
Nice. Yeah, I got mine.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect. So that's good for this step, the extraction of the second data source related to RDS. And now let's move on to the transform, change schema. And let's see if we have to, transform a bit our data related to the customer features. So here, well, first, if we want, we can change the names, but the names are fine. The names of the features, all good. Then if we want, we can change the data types, but they make sense. The country is a string, has premium membership, 001, 0 for no, 1 for yes is an integer. So everything seems to be good. String for gender, all good. But then the question is, in order to build a recommender system, is there any feature here or, variable that we can drop because they're not relevant to making a recommender system for movies? Maybe the surname is not relevant. It's not because your name is this that you will not like a particular movie, right? So that's the variable I would drop. What do you think? Surname. Yeah. The age is very relevant for sure. Young people maybe have different movie preferences than older people. Gender is definitely relevant. And customer ID we have to keep because this is an identification that is very important to identify customers. And has premium membership. Yeah, maybe this has an impact on the movie preferences. And there you go. Okay. So we're just going to drop surname, and that's going to be the transformation for our RDS database data source. Okay. So now let's move on to the next step, which is the join, which, by the way, is still part of the transform step of the ETL process. And so here, what join are we going to do? We're going to do an inner join to join this resulted table of the transformation coming from S3, the movie ratings, and this resulted table of the transformation coming from the RDS database table of the customer features. So we're just joining these two tables, and we have to join them through a common denominator, a common variable. And to choose that common variable, where we need to click add condition here, and here, so that's for this one, the movie ratings. Well, we're going to pick customer ID, because indeed, in the data source of the RDS database of the customer features, the customer ID is the same as the user ID. They have different names for the variables, but these are actually the same IDs. And so we're going to join them through this common denominator of the IDs of the customers or users of this movie streaming platform. I left the names of the variables different on purpose to show you that it doesn't have to be the same name. It just has to be the same variable with the same values. Okay? And now, good. That's all we have to do for the join, and that validated this cell. And congratulations to everyone. Now we're done with the transform part of the ETL process. So now we're going to move on to the final step, which is Amazon Redshift, the target. Amazon Redshift. So what we're going to do now is in the services, we're going to open Redshift, but be careful, in a new tab. Let's not lose this. I'm actually scared to do my right click. Oh, right click. Okay, good. Open link in new tab. There you go. Redshift. Because indeed, I can still not save because this still has a warning. So I'm making sure to keep this tab open. Okay, perfect. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to click this to try the Redshift serverless free trial. But please, please, please make sure to remove everything then. But anyway, we're going to do the cleanup at the end of this lab. So try Redshift serverless free trial. Let's click this. Then we're going to keep the default settings. That's fine. How it works, all good. Your data is encrypted by default, all good. There you go. So here, as you can see, for the permissions, well, we have to create another role. A role to get the permissions from Redshift. So we're going to go back to RAM. We're going to go back to the roles. And what does it say? It says something important. It says that we should get the Amazon Redshift all commands full access policy attached. So basically, that's a policy that will give us full access with Amazon Redshift, but we're going to do something similar to what we just did with the role for Glue. We're going to just take the administrator access. It will be fine. But if you want, you can take this policy in particular. But for training purposes, let's just keep things simple. So here in IAM, back to the roles, we're going to click Create Role. Then here, AWS Service, we're going to click here, Choose a Service. We're going to pick Redshift. And then you're going to select this one, Redshift Customizable. Okay, next. And then as I just said, let's just keep the administrator access to give us full access. That's fine. Not the best practice, but just for training purpose. Then let's click next. Then let's give a name to our role. So we're going to call it Redshift Full Access Role. Perfect. Description allows Redshift clusters to call AWS services on your behalf. Great. Perfect. Let's scroll down and let's create the role. Creating role, Redshift Full Access Role. Role successfully created. Awesome. Now let's go back to Redshift. Let's associate IAM roles. And there you go. Redshift Full Access Role. So you select this one. Associate IAM roles. And you don't forget to select it. Redshift Full Access Role. Perfect. You scroll down and you save the configuration. The list of Amazon resource name for customer roles must contain the ARN of the default IAM roles when a default is specified. So what did I forget? Did I forget to... Interesting. I'm going to click Customize Settings. Namespace name. Okay, so let's rather click Customize Settings and let's enter the settings here. So here, let's just call it my namespace, whatever you want. Lowercase only, so it's actually like that. My namespace. Okay, what else do we have to do here? Customize admin user credential. I think that's fine. Associate IAM role. Redshift full access role. Associate IAM roles. Let's select it. Here we don't have to customize anything. I think that's fine. Work group default. Let's call it my work group or whatever you want. Capacity is fine. VPC is fine. Security group is fine. Subnets are fine. So let's see if it works now. Let's try to save the configuration. And yes, it works. Good. So we just had to select customize settings and enter names in the workspace and the namespace. That's it. All right, so now it's setting up the Amazon Redshift serverless, and you're going to see how awesome it is. That's the final touch of our ETL creation process. We're going to have this very well-organized studio, platform where we can have all our data collected and gathered and joined thanks to the ETL process we implemented in Glue. Okay, so is the setup completed for everyone? Let's click Continue. And welcome to Redshift. So that's Redshift. And this is our namespace. So now we're going to go to our namespace and we're going to click this awesome feature, Query Data. And inside the query data, we're going to create our final table that is going to contain the final result of this whole ETL process. And so here, first we have to create the connection. Did you see what I did? I clicked this basically, and this popped up, connect to my work group. We're basically going to connect the studio here to the work group we just created, connect to my work group. And here you're going to keep federated user. No need to enter a new username and password. You can keep this federated user. Here you keep the dev database that was the one named by default. So you keep this. And then you click create connection. And now it's creating the connection and connection created. This time it was fast. Okay. Then you're going to expand the dev database because that's the database. You see dev is the database here. And here public is just a folder within the database. I think it's like a schema. And inside you will find the tables. And now our next step is to create the tables. And so we're going to expand this, but there's 0 tables. So we have to create one. So here we're going to click create table. All right. Then serverless, my work group, all good. Database, dev, schema, public. Yeah, there you go. Public was the schema. And then table, well, we just navigate a name to our table. And since, well, this is the final outcome of this whole ETL process that we're doing in this lab, well, let's call it final table. Okay, final table. And then that's where we have to add the columns of our table. And so, well, let's have a look at the visual editor. I think we can have the final output schema. You can already see the columns in the output schema. So let's just add them quickly in the visual editor. So here, that's for the first one. The data type is string.
Maybe char.
Char, yeah, char. Thank you. Okay, good. Add column. Okay, I'm going to put that next to this. Has premium membership. There you go. Integer, perfect. The next one, customer ID. There you go. That's not an integer. Maybe there's something better. Well, that's an integer, but big int. There you go. The next one, gender. And that's an integer. Gender was male or female or 0 or 1? I don't remember. Let's check.
No, that's char. It should be char.
Char. Yeah, char. Thank you. Male or female. So where was I? Here. Yeah. Char. Char. Where is it? Here it is. Next one is active member. That's going to be the integer 0 or 1. There you go. Perfect. Next one, age. And we can keep integer. Visual. User ID. That's going to be big int. Long. Okay. And finally, 2 more. Movie ID. Big int. And rating. And rating is actually
Decimal.
decimal, exactly, because it's 1.0 or 1.5. There can be 4.5 stars. So yeah, decimal. And there we go. And then we can just create our table.
Woo!
Woohoo! Yes, indeed. Final table. Table is created successfully. Great. So now we're going to make the final connection in Glue. Yeah, because we already created the connection, so that's good. So we can do that directly in the visual editor. So let's do this. Let's go back here in the target. Node parents, fine. We're connected to the join transformation. Redshift access type. Direct data connection recommended indeed. And if we refresh this, we should see the connection that we created here, right? That's where we created the connection directly, not in Glue. And so let's see if we have it. No, we don't have it. Okay. So, okay. So yeah, final little trouble to remember. Let me remember if we have to create the connection in Glue also. Yes, that's what we have to do. That's the very final step. Okay, we created that connection within Redshift, but we also have to create it within Glue. So let's do this. Let's go back to connections here in Glue, and let's create that very final connection to Redshift. So create connection. We're going to call it this time Redshift connection. And then for connection type, according to you, which one is it going to be?
The Amazon Redshift.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask the question, because there is a little trap. It's actually not this one, because if you choose Amazon Redshift, as you can see, you can't find directly the Java database connection URL available directly. So what you have to do is choose the JDBC connection type, and then back in Redshift, you're going to find that URL, which is somewhere. Does anyone see it before me? Yeah, my work group. Let's go to my work group. Here. Yeah, there it is. See? You see it? JDBC URL. That's exactly what you need right now to make that connection within Glue. So you're going to copy the JDBC URL. You're going to go back to Glue, create connection. There you go. Redshift connection, JDBC URL, paste. And there you go. Then optional, all good. Username and password. It's actually something we have to enter ourselves. So let's just pick one. You know, like when we created the RDS database, we chose a username and password. Let's try. Create connection. Yeah, there you go. So Redshift connection connector successfully added. Good. So now, okay, let's see what happens in the visual editor. If we refresh here, do we see?
You're 100% sure that we
okay,
need...
no,
There,
I know.
yeah.
There it is. Direct data
Direct.
connection. It's because the connection this time doesn't happen through the Glue data catalog tables. It happens directly with this option, direct data connection. So there you will find it, Redshift connection. And there you go. Now this works. So excuse me, you should not select this option, but this option, direct data connection, and you will find the Redshift connection that we just created. Okay. And indeed, this is well connected to the dev database within Redshift. Okay. That's the dev database. All right. And then schema, that's of course public, and then
final table.
Final table. Perfect. Woohoo!
All right.
We troubleshoot everything together. Great. Okay. All right. So then we're gonna keep this append to insert, the data into the target table coming from the join. And now, what do you see? Everything is good. The ETL process is done, and we can actually save it. Because we can't run it. We should be able to run it. And same when I did it myself first. Once everything was green, job details. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just IAM role.
There you go. Thank you so much. Glue full access role. And all good. By the way, this is done with Spark. Huh? The ETL job is run with Spark. I will show you actually the script, which is right here. So that's where you can see the script of the whole ETL process. Okay. And let's go back to the visual. So now everything is good. We can save. Now we should be able to save. Yes, there you go. We can save. And so back in the jobs, if we refresh, we will see our job here. There it is. Hard ETL. And well, the final step is, of course, to click run, but don't do it. That's where I have to tell you that if you do it, it will incur some charges. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this ETL. We did this, and we did this together.
Yes, the hard way. Good job, Hadelin.
The hard way. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired.
Time for a nap.
Yeah, time for a big nap. Yeah, it's actually night for me now, so I'll probably head to bed soon. I'll have some dinner and head to bed. But there you go. I hope you liked it. That was our first lab.
Yeah, thank you. No, we need to kill everything, right?
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's do the cleanup. Thank you so much for reminding me. So yeah, let's do it. So first, let's start with Redshift, the cleanup of Redshift. So here, I think the first thing we have to delete is the work group. So you go to work group here in your namespace, click actions and delete. You enter delete and you click delete. Awesome. Deletion in progress. So the work group is being deleted. And then the next step will be to delete the namespace. So deletion in progress. Now let's go back to the namespace configuration. Let's select the namespace, click actions, and yeah, we can't delete it yet because the work group is being deleted. So let's proceed with the rest. So now let's do the cleanup in Glue. And don't worry, I won't forget to finalize the cleanup in Redshift. So in Glue, we're going to start by deleting our databases because it will directly delete also the tables. So we're going to select both of them. We're going to click delete, enter delete here, and click delete. Done. Database is done. And we should no longer have tables either. Perfect. No available tables. Now let's delete the crawlers. So same, we're going to select both of them, click action, delete crawler, enter delete, and delete. And successfully deleted the crawler. No more crawlers. Perfect. And finally, let's delete the connections, data connections. There you go. Actions, delete, delete, RDS connection, actions, delete, delete. Perfect. And of course, let's not forget to delete the ETL jobs. Or you can keep it if you want to keep the diagram of the hard ETL. But if you want to do a full cleanup, well, just do like me. Delete jobs, delete. Perfect. So cleanup done in Glue. Congratulations. Let's close Glue. Okay, now back into Redshift. Is it done? Let's refresh. Modifying still. So I think we can still not delete the namespace. So we'll do it later. No worries. So now RDS. Let's do the cleanup in RDS. So in RDS, let's go to our databases. Let's select our database instance of RDS, pick actions, and then delete. Create final snapshot, no. Snapshots are actually charged. Retain automated backups, nope. So to confirm deletion, enter delete me into the field. And you acknowledge that upon instance deletion, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so delete. And the RDS database instance is deleting. Perfect. Now, endpoints, VPC, let's delete our endpoints. This was just for the ETL process, so we don't need this for anything else. So let's delete it. Delete VPC endpoint. Delete, and done. Perfect. Now, EC2, let's delete the security group. So let's select it, SG open MySQL, which now has 2 inbound rules, by the way. It's lagging a bit, so let's just wait for it to, yeah, there you go. So let's select it, actions, delete, and troubleshoot again. We can't delete it because there is a dependency with a network interface. So let's click the network interface and let's delete the network interface, probably is the solution. So let's select it, click actions, delete. It's currently in use. Okay, so let's see at the end. Maybe if we delete the inbound rules, this will work. Delete, save rules. Yeah, now maybe it will work. Actions, delete security group. No, still this dependency. So I think I know what it is. I think this network interface is linked to the RDS database instance, which is still deleting. And I think we can only delete this network interface when the RDS database instance is deleted. So let's try a bit later, and I'm sure it will work. Then let's clean up S3. So buckets. First, we have to empty the bucket, remember? So empty bucket.
I had completely forgotten that we used S3.
Yeah. So that was 2 hours ago. Huh? That's normal that we forgot. Empty, exit, select the bucket, delete the bucket, recommend the system. There you go. Delete bucket and bucket deleted. And let's clean this one as well. So this one was populated automatically with the glue stuff that we did. So let's empty it first. Permanently delete, empty, exit, select it, delete. AWS Glue access, blah, blah. Is the name, delete bucket. Okay, perfect. Done for S3. Whew. Let's close this. S3 is done. Now let's see where we are with our Redshift and stuff. Modifying still. Redshift takes a bit of, there you go. My namespace, actions, but okay, so we deleted the work group, right? Yeah, work group is fine. So we should be able now to delete the namespace. There you go. Yes. So delete namespace. Maybe I hadn't refreshed. Create final snapshot. No, we can directly delete, and deletion in progress. Perfect. So all good with Redshift. It will be deleted. Visual editor. Database. Is it deleted? Almost. Yeah, successfully deleted. Perfect. So RDS is good. We're all good with RDS. If we refresh, it should disappear. But no. But anyway, it's deleted. So now let's see if we can delete our network interface. So back into the network interfaces, by the way, in the EC2 dashboard, let's click action, delete, is currently in use. So actually, no, the network interface, I think, is linked to Redshift. And once this is deleted, I think we will be able to clean the network interface. But anyway, as I said, security groups are not chargeable, so it's not essential. So I think we're good. Oh yeah, the roles. Let's delete the roles also. Redshift full access role and Glue full access role. Let's select them, enter delete, and delete. And roles deleted, all good. So we're good with IAM, no policies either. Yeah, all good with IAM. EC2 is almost all good. Network interface, let's wait for Redshift. We're good. Okay, that. Endpoints, we're good. Let's close this. Database, we're good. Yeah, it will disappear, no worries. We're good. And Redshift is still in deletion. And a visual editor, but well, let's close this because we cleaned everything in Glue. And now let's try with the network interface again. Actions, delete. Yes, there you go, delete. No, yeah, failed to delete, but it's deleted. Okay, so anyway, yeah, it's deleted. And so now we can delete the security group. So actions, you selected actions, delete security groups, delete, and cleanup done. Perfect. If we refresh, it should disappear. There you go. All good. So now we're back like in the AWS TCP course. So I can close EC2 and yeah, finally Redshift is deleting. And you only have to delete the workspace and the namespace. Voila. Okay, so all good for everyone? Thank you so much for attending this lab. Please give me your feedback for the next labs. I'll probably make them shorter. And yeah, it will be my great pleasure to see you at the next interactive session.
Yeah, it has been awesome. Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Hadelin.
so much. I hope you you learned a lot regarding this first stage of the data science pipeline, managing the ETL process.
Yeah, I think the
Okay.
best thing it gave us like a big perspective is on the multiple services for one project.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for saying this. All right. So I'll head to rest now. I'm gonna rest. Well, eat something and rest. And thank you so much for attending. And I'll see you at the next live lab.
See you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.